instructed to emphasize more on practical skills, creativity and competence, and ready the students for the job market. I hadn't given you an opportunity to give your assessment on the CBC. So where exactly did we go wrong? Because everybody that has spoken seems like they are in agreement there's an issue with this particular curriculum.
Yes, thank you, Brian. First of all, we need to look at the history of the education systems in the world. And any education expert would tell you that we did the changeover at the wrong time. Hardly had 844 done 20 years. When it was starting to mature, then we did away to go to a new system. Now, this new system, the first problem was when we removed Amina from the Minister of Education, because he had voiced the reality after doing research and testing and said, look, we need more time to do test runs for this. But more importantly, Brian, are you aware that we are implementing a system of education which we have not done costing? We even don't know how much investments we are supposed to do in terms of infrastructure, in terms of human resource capacitation, the teachers, in terms of teaching aids and materials that we need. If you look at where CBC has succeeded, and I've just come from China. I was in China for 11 days. One of the things that you must do is to provide enough facilities and enough equipment. Today, in this country, you are pretending to implement CBC, you don't have enough teachers in physical education. Even from the universities, they have not produced enough teachers in physical education, which is a key component. You don't have enough teachers in art and design. Even if you decided to employ all, you will not employ 32. There are not 32,000 teachers of art and design. Okay? You don't have enough teachers employed for mathematics. You don't have enough teachers for computer science. Brian, you are talking of pathways. I have 54 secondary schools. None of it can do sports and sports science because they don't have swimming pool, they don't have enough fields. So what are we talking about? That the people of Lugari constituency will be disenfranchised from one pathway. Even science, STEM, which is a pathway, technical subjects. I have schools I'm still struggling to build a semblance of a laboratory. Those schools do not have adequate facilities.
Okay.
And up to today, if you asked Belio or the people who are in the working party, how much money do we need in terms of investments in this CBC, nobody will give you an answer.
Okay. Let me bring in Embakasi and East MP Babu. You know, Babu, the cost of funding this curriculum, according to Nabina Buera, it's too expensive. And to some extent, when we speak like this, it's like we didn't, do proper assessment and see whether it is going to work. Based on the reports that have been given, and that is most of the reports that your fellow panelists here on set have been able to touch on, say that it was doomed to fail from the onset. How do we get to solve this particular situation that we find ourselves currently in? Do we do away with it? Or is there salvation for this curriculum so that it gets to achieve the goals that it was intended to do initially, prepare students for the job market by focusing more on their practical skills, creativity, and also competence?
Thank you, Brian. Number one, we must take education in Kenya. We must take it serious and we must give it the first priority because everything is about skills. And it must start from the president. If you see a president who loves education, then it means that there will be success in our education system. But if you get a president who doesn't like education, or rather hates education, like President Ruto, then definitely I can tell you that education cannot work in this country. Then you will look at a president by the kind of a cabinet secretary and a principal secretary that he nominates to work in the ministry. Then at the policy making level, we need serious people. If you look at this current Minister for Education called Migos, even the name is not inspiring at all. Look at Professor Magoha, Brian. Look at what Magoha was. Is Migos even 1/8 of a quarter of what Professor Magoha was? So if you look at the unseriousness that we have in this country, right from the executive, because those are the policy makers. So the policy that is being made at that level, these people, they don't know. It's like Professor Magoha was taking a plane from the ground, it took off, now it's in the clouds, nobody knows how to come down. So this plane cannot come down. And when the fuel is over, this plane will crash. So it is really unfortunate, because we've been talking about this and we are being told that we are making noise. We've been talking about this. It is our children that are being used here as guinea pigs. And it is so clear that CBC is failing. So the question is, should we proceed failing, or should we find a solution? The quickest solution that we can get, number one, is that we employ more teachers. In this country, Brian, it is so unfortunate that the teachers who are unemployed are more than the teachers who are employed. Teachers who graduated 2, 5, 15 years, 20 years ago haven't received jobs up to date. That shows you how unserious we are, even at the TSC level. I want to tell you that the best solution is to employ more teachers and pay them well. The second solution is to ensure that there are sufficient infrastructure in every institution of learning to facilitate the conducive learning and consumption of CBC, because it is a good diet that we can't afford. I want to tell you that today, Brian, our basic education, it is so sad and quite unfortunate that for us to achieve our basic education, that is primary and high school, a child is allocated 22,000 Kenya shillings as capitation. Out of the 22,000 Kenya shillings, only 12,000 is sent to schools. The 10,000 goes to, number one, textbooks, number two, the Edu Afya, number three, activity, and number four, there's something called SMASE, which is science, mathematics and engineering training. So when you look at the 12,000 Kenya shillings that we have, that was introduced, the 22,000 was introduced in 2010. It has never been reviewed upwards, yet there is high cost of living, yet there is inflation. Then look at the 12,000 that is supposed to be sent to schools as capitation for every student. What happens to it? During Uhuru's regime, only 60% was being sent to schools, which means that even the 12,000, which was supposed to be sent at 50% first term, 30% second term, and 20% third term, them wholesomely, Uhuru's regime was sending only 60,000. Of 12,000, that is 7,200. Ruto's regime, in the last financial year, he was only sending 52%. 52% of 12,000 is 6,240 Kenya shillings. Now, this tells you how unserious we are with the education sector in this nation. So let us employ teachers, let us increase capitation, let us construct proper infrastructure, let us not ask money from parents, the humble parents, parents who are stricken by poverty, to send money meant for practicals in the name of learning practicals at CBC level. All those materials should be provided by the government. So when we do that, then, yes.
I want to let you go, but before I do that, let me, you know, most of the things you are listing down as solutions, when somebody looks at them, they look practical and to some extent very easy. But when it comes to putting them down and implementing that, it seems that that's where we have a problem. Why is that the case? You are a parliamentarian. How do we get to address this so that we get to see some seriousness when it comes to dealing with this particular issue? Because the train already left the station. We need to see it, you know, extend to the final destination.
For us, we need to achieve an overhaul of the education system in this country, and it does not require one person, but it starts from the president, number one, by sacking the Minister for Education and giving us a person who is serious, a person who is at the caliber of Professor George Albert Magoha Omori, who was very serious with education in this country. That is number one. Number two, at that policy level, if you look at the county directors of education, that should be seriously shaped and competent people employed at that level, up to the sub-county level, up to the principal and a head teacher who is being employed, because we want quality education to our children from high school to primary or primary to high school. Then we will also discuss about the university level, as you had suggested. So generally, it needs a situation where every stakeholder must come on board. We don't need any more laws for this. We need implementation of this. We can't say that we are going to Parliament to make laws for CBC to be implemented. It is the president who must come out. But because this president does not value education, he will clearly ignore it, as he has always done. He will clearly ignore it, and he will not do anything concerning this. So I will not be surprised, because he wants to punish our children. He doesn't like a person who is intelligent next to him. For you to be his friend, you must suspend your brains. So he must stop that and focus on the lives of our children.
Honorable Babu, you know, thank you so much for that. Of course, joining us live from Mombasa. Let me come to you, Moses. This is the thing. We start with the issue of resources, and we go to teachers, because that has been the bone of contention. We don't have enough teachers when it comes to implementation of the CBC. Enough, you know, we've seen teachers take to the streets, especially the JSS ones, demanding that they want to be, you know, employed, so that we get enough human resource to be able to handle this particular transition. How are you handling that as, you know, a union that deals with teachers directly?
Thank you very much, Brian, for the question, and I want to thank Mheshimiwa Babu for the insights, and Mheshimiwa Nabwera here, who also believes that we were not ready for the 844, and the chairman of Parents Association. I am shocked that the policymakers, I mean the people who developed laws and people who also allocate money from the exchequer are also crying when Ndorima and the chairman Parents Association are also crying, because nobody is going to help this country. Parliament is where sharing of resources is done. Okay. And I want to say that they need to be forthright in terms of what they are doing in Parliament, so that this country can move. About teachers, I cannot say that teachers are not trained, because Kenyan teachers are acceptable world over. Go to America, you find them. Go everywhere, and they are praised because of the skills they have. What I may agree is that in the technical areas of education, we don't have trained teachers, but we have people who are trained in for example, electricians and so on. For us, like myself, I was never taught by trained teachers. And that is why Teacher Service Commission now is amending the Teacher Service Commission Act to entrench the fact that they can source personnel from even teachers who are not trained.
Okay.
That is one way of doing it. The other one is that, you know, we were taught by untrained teachers, and we are here today. We can speak a bit of English, although there is Kemeru inside. So I'm saying that as regards costing, you know, one of the components of curriculum design is financing. Mm-hmm. The other one is planning. These things were done by curriculum designers. And they're in statutes, and they're in books at the ministry. So if you want to read them, you read them. But what we are lacking is political goodwill in the country.
All right.
If we are in political goodwill, issues of materials and what these things can be done because they are there. For example, why don't you take grade 7, grade 8 to high school, where next year we are going to have a free class because there won't be Form 1. Okay,
and let me bring in Honorable Nabi. Mm-hmm. You are a member of Parliament, Lugari constituency. Your constituency is going through this. If you were to paint a picture of how it looks like when it comes to this implementation on the issue of teachers, on the issue of infrastructure, how does it look like?
First of all, before I answer that question, I want to help my Kupet friend here. You know, the problem in this country is when people have participated in a wrong thing, they want to make it look right. And given that he was in that task force that came up with this mongrel, he wants to make us look like. Let me ask you, you have said there is costing. Just tell us the cost of education in primary grade, PP1 to grade 6 of one pupil. Just give me. Give me the cost of one student, grade 7 to grade 9. Just give me. Because that's the issue here. That's what I'm raising. And if indeed what you are saying is correct, then how come the Ministry of Education does not provide those resources at the point of the executive? I also want to help you understand. In Kenya, the budgeting process is like this. The experts in the executive develop the proposal. The proposal comes to Parliament. Now, if those experts don't know the costing, where do you expect Parliament to know those costings? So there's a failure in the system. Mm-hmm. Brian, coming to your question, this is what it is in my constituency about CBC. You have a grade 7 and grade 6, which is 30% taught. And that's the reality. What Mheshimiwa Babu Wino is saying is correct. You have a school of 3 streams of grade 7. 3 streams of grade 8. It has 5 teachers teaching 10 learning areas. 10 learning areas. And among these teachers, there is no teacher of mathematics. They are all from social science. They are trying to do mathematics, the one they learned when they were in O-level. There is no teacher of art and design. There is no teacher of computer science trained for that purpose. Right? You are now going to have a grade 9 with no single teacher. Because that's what I was saying yesterday in Parliament, that we must force TSC to trigger recruitment of the teachers for grade 9 to start in October. So by January, we will have those teachers. You have 32,000 comprehensive schools, none as a laboratory or a resource center. You asked me to give you the scenario. So please allow me to give you the scenario. Then you have these students. The ministry does not have quality assurance officers to ensure, and you saw the court even ruling the other day. The court ruling that the ministry must employ quality assurance officers to go to the ground. You have no quality. The system collapsed. In a constituency where I have 54 schools, 1 quality assurance officer. Really? 54 secondary schools, 120 primary schools? Really? Then we are not serious on this.
Okay.
The gap here is The big boys at the Ministry of Education have decided to put stones in their ears. They have decided to play politics with education. Education, you cannot play politics. And let me correct you, Brian. I did not say education is, CBC is expensive. I said CBC requires resources. Okay. And I've always said here, there is enough resources in this country to give to education. Because going the foolish way will not help. All you need for now, where we are today, okay, you need to release another 21.6 billion as a conditional grant to CDF to build the remaining classrooms, because Grade 9 does not have classrooms. You release 80 billion for resource centers, and you release another 12 billion to employ enough teachers in these areas which we don't have teachers. I agree with him. We have very good technical teachers out here who may not be necessarily teachers, but they will teach math, they will teach technical subjects. We just need to bring them because they are experts in those areas, and we take them through teaching methods.
All right. These are your students. These are your, not your students, but these are your children that are, you know, with the kind of picture that Nabi has been able to paint for us. How confident are you in terms of the output that we will get to see later on in the day as when they finish their education, if at all this is the situation on the ground?
Let me go back and maybe start from somewhere else. First of all, I want to say that the removal of 844 system was wrong. Because there was nothing wrong with the 844 system. That system would have just been improved just a bit. Because it was like always exam-oriented and all that. If those changes were brought on board, just to improve it, 844 system would have remained. And these problems that we are seeing with the CBC would not have been there. Okay. The second point, a good driver will always tell that his vehicle might be going to cause an accident, or his plane, a pilot, he has to have an emergency landing to save the passengers. 80% of the children in public schools outside Nairobi and part of Nairobi are not learning. They are just walking in a, it's like wolves in the park, just walking. The reason being, the preparation of CBC was not and has never
been adequate.
It's still just in a mess. I'll say that, because reports have been given. You remember Harvey going to court to stop CBC? It was not. So we are not blaming the current government or the president. Personally, I don't do that. What I'm saying is that if all stakeholders are involved and they are listened to, it will work. I told you from the beginning.
Do you believe that they were not involved from the beginning in terms of all stakeholders?
Yes. Okay. Parents have never been involved. I'm a parent. My child is in school. In CBC, a teacher tells my child, go and ask your father what is an atomic number. This is a CRI teacher teaching chemistry in CBC classes. My child is asking me that. When I cannot answer, my child says that my father is ignorant. And yet is the chairman of Parents Association.
He's useless.
Second point.
Okay.
The task force by the president, as we have heard from my friends here, that task force was 100% failure. Okay. And I'm not sorry to say that. And you are a member of parliament, Bwana Nabuera. You sit in the education committee.
The task force that was formed once the president took office?
Yes, the working party. Okay.
The task force report is totally null and void. Yeah. The fact is that it has never gone out to stakeholders for validation, but it's being implemented. So how do you implement things that the people, just a minute, allow me to finish this. All right. Failure to validate that report before the public remains illegal for it to be implemented. And members of parliament, Mr. Nabuera, you are here. When it comes to parliament, if you pass that one, my friends, the parents will behave like Gen Zs, we shall get you out. Okay. Now, the last one.
I want to go
the last one. Yeah. On issues of policy.
I'm under the rate.
When you are changing any policy in the education sector, all stakeholders must be involved. Right now, the second mistake that's being made, the Minister of Education is drafting a new education bill, 2024, and is totally doing away with the parents. Okay. How can you do education without parents in the country?
It won't pass.
It cannot. So that one again, Mheshimiwa, put that down again, the second one. If that bill comes to Parliament, please just throw it away.
All right. I want us to cross over to Senator Newtu, who is on standby to give a take on this particular conversation that you're having on the state of education.
Thank you, Mr. Kimani, and you are right that there have been very many complaints and cries from parents and students, especially those that joined or are supposed to join first year. This September, there are those that joined last August, and I can confidently say that the only problem with the new funding model is what we call the means testing instrument. That if we are able to fix the means testing instrument, then the new funding model will work very well. Because here is how it works. Previously, and I think this is something that the PAs, the higher education, the minister or the CS, even the president himself have actually explained that under the old funding model, every student was getting 80% scholarship plus loan. And then the household was supposed to pay 20%. So this 20% has been, a gigantic, or it has been a very huge figure for some families, especially the vulnerable families. So the new funding model was supposed to come and save the poor students from poor backgrounds, because they were supposed to get, 70% government scholarship, 25% loan, and only 5% was supposed to be paid by the household, which was going now to uplift students from poor households. But now the problem is, we also have what we call banding. They have been banded. The one that I've explained is actually band 1. Unfortunately, the means testing instrument banded poor students, very many poor students, put them in band 4, where they're supposed to pay amounts that Kenyans cannot afford. Many ordinary Kenyans cannot afford. So my position as chair, Senate Education Committee is we need to fix the means testing instrument so that we band every student, put them in the right band.
All right, let me now engage Honorable Babu Owino, especially on the issue to do with the university funding model, just what Senator Newtu has been able to weigh in. And of course, Honorable Babu Owino has been very critical when it comes to this new funding model, of calling on its total rejection. Babu, I believe you are a student. You have been a student leader. You've been able to benefit from the old funding model. And now there's a new funding model that, according to the government, it seeks to ensure that each and every student gets to have access to education. From where you sit, is it going to achieve its intended purpose?
Thank you very much, Brian. I want to tell you clearly that Ruto has destroyed the education system in this country, way from primary level to secondary level to the university level. And I told you, for you to be his friend, you must suspend your brains. You must not think for yourself. Why are we punishing comrades in this country? President Ruto is a president because of education. Were it not for education, he would have never come to Nairobi. Were it not for education, he would have never gone to the University of Nairobi. Were it not for education, he would have never been the President of the Republic of Kenya. Therefore, he is one person who is enjoying the fruits of education. And we know very well that generally the roots of education are bitter, but the fruits are very sweet. Our children have toiled, have moiled, our parents have struggled to educate a child from primary level to secondary level, all the way to the university. They've sold different parcels of land that they had. They've sold different animals they had. They've sold all that they had. They've done odd jobs. They are selling mboga. Some are selling changa, like my mom sold changa to educate me. Some are boda riders. Some are doing mjengo just to educate their children. Then, boom, there comes the President of the Republic of Kenya, who tells you that we must punish you for being a student in this country. We must punish you even when you are in poverty, even when you are poor. We know that 85% of Kenyans are living in poverty and therefore cannot afford education. I want to tell you that during President Ruto's time, when he joined the University of Nairobi in 1987, he joined as a student who was given boom. Boom was in form of a grant. It wasn't a loan, which means that the university education by 1987 was free. So in 1987, President Ruto got free education. That's why he is where he is. But today, he is telling us that you must pay expensively, you must pay exorbitantly for the same university education that he got for free. So let me tell you one thing, Brian. When HELB was introduced, HELB was a savior. HELB was a loan that was helping our students and still helping some of the continuing students up to date, at least to finish, to acquire quality education, after which they will repay this loan after they secure a job. But we are being told now that there is a new funding model called, or baptized, the new university funding model, which is a beast, which is a ghost, which is destroying the future of our children. How is it doing so? You are being told that you are being put in different bands, that there is band 1, 2, up to band 5. And that band 1, you will only pay 5%. If you compare that 5% fee to the current HELB loan that is being given, you will find that you are still paying expensively for education. Then, now, the elephant in the room is this, Brian, that any other student who is joining the university now probably has attained the age of 18 years old, which means that that is an adult. The law in Kenya is very clear that if you are a parent, you cease to take parental responsibility the moment a child attains the age of 18 years old. Therefore, every other person who joins the university as at now, every comrade, is at the age of 18 or 19 with no job, has never worked anywhere, cannot afford education. Then you want to discriminate them, put them on different bands. Our constitution, Article 260, clearly defines an adult as a person who has attained the majority age, which is 18 years. Then we have the Children Act 2022 defines a child as a person who is below the age of 18 years. Then we have the Age of Majority Act, Cap 33, Section 2, clearly states that a person ceases to be under any disability as long as they attain the age of majority, which is 18 years. Therefore, what am I trying to tell you? That these students who have attained the age of 18 at the university, their parents have no any obligation to educate them. Why is it that the government wants to impose fees on these students? So we should suspend, we should disband the banding system. We should suspend this new funding model. This idea of student leaders are being called every time in State House to go and help the president to pass this. I want all the student leaders in this country, plus all the students in this country, to hold very major demonstrations in every university, in every college, in every institution of higher learning in this country, and hold serious demonstrations to disband the bands. We have to ensure that this new funding model is suspended. We want education to be of high quality and affordable to everybody. As I told you earlier, the role of education in the growth of our economy. As I told you earlier, that the best way that Ruto is doing to kill our children is by taking away pens and books from them. That is the easiest way to destroy them. The other day we saw the Gen Zs demonstrating. These Gen Zs were university students. Why does Ruto hate university students? Why is Ruto killing university students? And why is Ruto killing their future? By killing the new university model.
Okay. Okay, Honorable Babu, I get your point there. Of course, there's so much dissatisfaction when it comes to this new funding model. I do thank you so much for your time joining us live from Mombasa. We don't take it for granted. Thank you so much for your insights on this particular conversation. Let me throw it to Honorable Nabi, just to weigh in on this issue to do with the funding model. Those are proposals that we get to consolidate all the bursaries so that we make education affordable. As a member of parliament and somebody that is very interested, because at the end of the day, people are going to come to your office looking for bursaries to want to pursue education. What do you make of this?
I want to pronounce myself very clearly.
Yeah.
Unless you are investing more money for free education, the monies which are in bursary in various sectors cannot guarantee free education. And I've done my costing. That's number one. Number two, the Minister of Education has a record of non-accountability. You are aware the teachers are always complaining, and I have the Kupeti Secretary General here. He will tell you they don't even receive the capitation, all of it. Up to even today, they are asking, we left money for books. Where are those books? You are aware, the Minister of Education, there has been an outcry on how they use the money for infrastructure. Schools are still having mud, and you get one school getting 500 million or 100 million. So are those the people you want to say you want to give them the money to manage? By the way, people don't know. The Ministry of Education superintends a bursary scheme which is under Jomo Kenyatta Foundation. And ask anybody whether they know any child in their village who gets that money, and that's World Bank money. The only way you can guarantee Wanyama and Nekesa of Lugari to get money is where they access that money easily. We cannot go back to a system that ensured one county got 10 national schools and another had 0. Centralization has killed this country. Centralization is the reason why I don't have one single tarmac road and one county has every pathway to people's homes, tarmac. So that's not a solution.
Okay.
Let's talk about the funding model. What is the problem in the funding model? The problem in the funding model are 3. Number one, from nowhere, universities increased the cost of education per course. You know, it is laughable that medicine course is cheaper in a private university than in a public university. It's laughable. And yet the public university is funded by public money.
Okay.
So the university costing of courses is erroneous. That's number one. Number two, the country was not ready for a means testing tool that is desktop. We don't have accurate data. Please, do you know that we have parents who don't have KRA pins and they have their children in the university? You are asking for a KRA pin of their parent. Where do they get?
So what do we do?
The tool, just listen, you wanted to understand this thing, and the public needs to understand this thing. This means testing tool is erroneous in this sense. A parent who has 300 animals, the son does not know that this is a source of wealth. When he is asked, what is the source of income for your parent, he says 0. And yet a teacher, look at this man, he has 300 herds of cattle. One roughly will be 30,000. A primary school teacher, the salary is 26,000. So what's more income? And yet the means testing tool will say this guy, the primary school teacher has more money than this parent who has 300 animals. My brother, even China, which is living 20 years ahead of everybody, the means testing tool interacts with humans.
Okay.
It is the people who validate and decide who gets what where.
All right, all right. I want us, because I'm running out of time now, as we wind up with this conversation, let me just want to start with you, Silas. When the report was tabled, I think that's you said with the task force, actually, when you tabled that particular report, you said that's where the problem started. That's exactly, we didn't need that particular, but some of the things that they said were a challenge, of course, it was issue to do with infrastructure and resources. What we are actually talking about, teacher training and parental involvement, where you come in, and also the issue to do with the cost of actually implementing the CBC. Now, moving forward, as you give your assessment on the state of education in the country, how do we take some of the recommendations that have been given in this particular report? Because from where we sit, or from where we are at the moment, it's like we cannot do away with it, so we just have to find a way of strengthening it and move forward.
Yes. I want to support what my friends are saying here. I think I began by telling you that the approach to CBC was from a wrong note, because parents own schools, they own children, so you cannot force them to take what they don't know. It's like taking a box sealed and going to give to your father-in-law, telling that there's plenty of money for dowry there, when there's nothing inside. Parents were not involved. There was no public participation in CBC implementation from the beginning up to now. And we still stand firm and say, unless parents are involved, CBC is on a flight that is heading to crash.
When you give your recommendations and say we want to be involved in this one, what kind of message do you get?
Just a minute. We have said, you are saying that the train is moving. Do we have to wait until the train moves to go and crash, or the train has to be stopped because it has a pilot or a driver on it? Parents are watching what's happening. They know that CBC, I can tell you 80% of the children are not, in public schools, are not learning. Those in private, just a handful are learning, but what they are learning again, maybe those teachers again also, they are not fully trained. Let me give you an example. CBC is ICT oriented. How many teachers have trained and qualified to run ICT classes when delivering instructions in the classroom? The reports that have been done are saying teachers have not fully been in service or trained on ICT implementation and use of ICT in CBC. Okay. Children are not supposed to be carrying books to school. Go in the morning by 6 o'clock. CBC needs to have no tuition, no extra classes over weekends. But they are still happening. In fact, much worse than 844 system. And it was to bring a change. Okay. So already, the learners are tired. Parents are complaining, go to the media. Homework. Teachers just tell the children, go home and read books. Okay. Open the books and read like a Bible. So, what are we saying now? We are killing our own children, my friend, unless something is done. If I were asked to recommend right now, and I say that Kenya Kwanza government found CBC in place in a mess already, we can't blame them. They found there in a mess. If the former government that was there listened to what was said by Amina, the CS in the Ministry of Education herself, not myself or Mheshimiwa or Musa, Amina said openly, if they took the report from KNUT that was done, which clearly said that Kenya was not ready to implement what? CBC.
Okay, let
me finish. Allow me to finish. First of all, Babu has talked for 2 hours and I was listening to him. I want you to hear this. If the policy makers would listen to the stakeholders in the education sector, there will be a very good change in the sector. For now, we assume this. If I were asked to make a recommendation now, I would even say that children who are in grade 8 right now should proceed to Form 1. They go to Form 1. And they go back to the 844 system because they can catch up quickly. We have, everything is there. As far as 844 system is concerned, teachers are there, infrastructure is there, materials are there, everything is ready. Then take them to grade 8, 9, then they approach again junior secondary school when you are still in this mess, saying that tomorrow we shall improve, we shall improve. We are just killing our children in public schools.
Okay, now, so I want to ask you this, and yes, this is just still in relation to what, because this task force report needed to have done something better. What did they miss?
They didn't miss anything. The thing is, the task force report was not validated. The stakeholders have not seen it. Where is it? Have you ever seen, you are on the media, have you ever seen, even at KICD, somebody saying there is validation of the task force report, task force working party report? Have you seen anyone telling you that there's validation of the 2024 Education Act draft by public participation? There's nothing. Right. So where are the teachers? Where are the parents? Where are the members of parliament? Why are we all being left out?
Okay. Somebody says it's over demanding. This is a parent, of course. I think with grade PP1 or PP2 somewhere there. It's over demanding in terms of time and resources. Also, it makes the kids to be relaxed as the competition is based on skills and talent. Yet parents are paying lots of money, and some schools are yet to deliver because the teachers are underpaid and are expected to perform. Yani, we need the old system back. Okay, let me come to you. Where are the teachers as we give our final remarks on this conversation?
I want to say that I speak for the high school teachers. The high school teachers are prepared for the CBC. What the Ministry and the Teacher Service Commission should do is to retool teachers so that they are informed of the methodologies of extracting talents from our lands.
When this preparation, what's the, how often do we do this? Because I saw...
The retooling has been going on, and that one is there. So the idea of teachers are not trained is the idea that was with the Socione, who felt that there will be more teachers in secondary school than in primary schools. So he went and cobbled some research, and he started yelling that we cannot go to CBC. It was not true. What I want to say is the CBC is a global curriculum, and Kenya is a community of within the civilized nations. So we must look at the international trends where today we are saying that learners must be creators of jobs and not to wait for the jobs. You can see those who are from the university today are waiting for jobs. But the CBC learners will not wait for anybody's job. They will create. Okay. So what I want to say is that we have enough money. 565 billion that is given to the Ministry of Education, and the bursaries that are in CDF, which members of parliament don't want to be touched. The bursaries at the county levels and the ministry should be consolidated to make education free. This burden in the university is a lot of nonsense. Okay. Because everybody has a right to access education. Everybody. And that is constitutional, actually. You have a right, every Kenyan has a right to education. And because we give 27%...
Some of the challenges that are being put forward, it looks like if we can say you have a right to access education, but what kind of education are you accessing?
Capitation is enough. And there is a discussion, and you'll see that the money that is given to education is enough to make education free from nursery to the university. But you cannot get that one because we don't have empirical evidence. Okay. But we are working on, especially Kupet is looking at the capitation in the ministry so that we can inform the public that we have enough money to finance education for everybody, whether you are rich or poor. That is money you are given to pay when you are done with education.
Okay, Eddie.
My friend.
My friend. I've not made
remarks. Just give us time to speak about this.
Let me make a closing remarks.
Make your closing statement.
The Kupet Deputy Secretary General is misled. Completely misled. Let me help him. You need to be helped, my brother.
Please help me.
Yes, the 22,000 shillings was costed by experts, including Professor Duol.
I was there.
Yes, yes. Then you need to listen. 2010. Tell me the inflation rate up to now. You don't know. I'm shocked. The principals should hear you this. You don't know what principals are going through with this amount of money, which only 60% gets to school. All the schools in Kenya have bank loans.
What are the members of parliament doing?
Just listen. But you are the one who believe when we have the likes of you who are supposed to be stakeholders in education and you believe that there is enough money in education, then the country is in trouble. I'm saying if you want education to be free, provide 1 trillion shillings. And the country can afford that. Forget about giving NIS 48 billion shillings to do abduction and things that don't make sense.
Why do we need
now listen, my friends,
just a moment before I come to you. Why 1 trillion? Why just specific 1 trillion?
Huh?
Why specifically 1 trillion shillings?
Why?
Why specifically 1 trillion shillings to be provided for?
Because when you do costings of education and you want to make education free, please look at this way. You must equalize facilities. That's number one.
Okay.
So you must invest in the following. Have adequate classrooms everywhere. Have schools that don't have laboratories, from comprehensive school to secondary school, to have them. Add enough teachers. Please, if you have to go CBC, you must employ teachers in subjects that have never been taught at that level.
Okay.
Including art and design.
Okay. All right.
Yes, I want to say this.
Because I'm totally out of time.
Just 1 minute.
Yeah.
We have said already that train is taken off, but is heading in the wrong direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have said this. If we ask ourselves, all the way from grade 3 to grade 8 right now, those children there in between, there are over 10 million. These are raw children because nobody has taught them. They know nothing about CPC.
Exactly.
Parents have nothing about them. Parents are worried. Now, we are still proceeding on taking those children going when the train is going. Where are we taking those children?
Okay.
We are killing the future country. Which train, by the way? It has no wheels.
All right.
We are killing parents and their children.
Well, to be fair to me, when I started, I said, you know, we want to figure out whether the train has actually left the station. Is it really moving or struggling to maintain?
It has
the
no
rails?
wheels.
But I want to take it to Mumbi. Kindly, you bring us up to speed on what Kenyans are actually saying as far as this conversation is concerned, Mumbi.
And indeed, on this side, Brian Amwai, we continue to monitor all the feedback coming in on all our social media platforms regarding the state of our education system, specifically the competency-based curriculum system, as well as funding of higher education in the country. And your feedback has absolutely been crucial in informing the conversation going on. You can talk to us on our social media platforms, like I told you earlier, on Facebook, Kameme TV Kenya, as well as K24, on X, formerly Twitter, at Kameme TV Kenya, as well as at K24. We'll now be sampling some of the feedback or messages coming in from our viewers on this very important discussion tonight. Carlos Kipkoech, quite a packed message. The government should provide adequate resources for it to be implemented fully. As we speak, there are no integrated books for creative arts and pre-technical studies, no computer laboratories, no science laboratories in some schools. Also, most of the CBC books, if not all, have a section where a parent or a guardian should help their children. The challenge here is that quite a number of parents lack digital devices like smartphones, which are very essential in carrying out research. Asante sana, Carlos, for your message tonight. Kingsley Kipto says, I understand nothing as far as this thing called CBC is concerned. Don't force things to the citizens. Asante Kingsley for your message. Ibrahim Okola says grade 9 should be domiciled in high schools where we already have teachers and laboratories for science-based subjects, among others. But in primary schools, it would take the government a lot of resources, which are bringing a lot of confusion to the common mwananchi. Ibrahim, asante sana. Let's get another one. Kiprotich Collins says CBC should be done away with because of lack of enough teachers, not enough classes, and also lack of equipment for laboratories. Thank you, Kiprotich, for your views. Nakumara Senior says, what was the work of the task force that was put in place? What were their findings and conclusion? Did they conduct public participation? Nakamura, thank you for your message. Simon Tukay says, up to date, we're not able to understand CBC and very rare and very costly to implement, especially in remote areas. I would advise the government to improve the system for the sake of our children. Thank you, Simon, for your views. Joan Dirango says Kenya was ill prepared for CBC system. Teachers haven't been ready for CBC, overloading children with homework. CBC is an expensive affair. Thank you so much for being a part of this, for all your views. Your insights have been invaluable in informing this very crucial discussion tonight, which will continue in the coming days. Asanteni sana, we appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this. My name is Mumbi Chege. Have a blessed night. I'll now be handing over to Brian Amwai to wind up. Brian?
Sir, Brian from Home Salaba. Thank you so much for that particular feedback, Mumbi. Of course, that's where we wrap it up here on the program and the broadcaster tonight. This looking at the state of irrigation. We started all the way from 6 p.m. with Busara Naman and the Swahili team all the way to this particular moment. This is 11:05 p.m. Of course, we did have David Kagina earlier on taking a look at the university funding model and his panel there. And of course, I want to thank my panel here in studio, who've been very awesome when it comes to engaging us in this particular conversation and trying to make us understand where the problem is as far as the implementation of the CBC is concerned. And of course, that is Moses Nturima, who is the Deputy Secretary General Kupe. Thank you so much for coming tonight, sir. Honorable Nabi Nabwera, who is the Member of Parliament Lugari, thank you so much for making time, sir. And also Silas Obuhatsa, who is the National Chairman, Parents Association. I do thank you for coming tonight and making time for this conversation. Of course, earlier on we did have Honorable Babu Owino, who was joining us from Mombasa live. Right, that's where we wrap it up. Thank you once again, and let's do this when God says we do. Good night, and God bless you.
Back to the future. The future is simulate. Bet smarter. Win faster now. Be a winner. Mozartbet.
Starting 17th September, the traditional 32 group phase stage will be replaced by a 36 league phased format. In the new format, teams ranking from number 1 to 8 will automatically qualify to the round of 16. Teams ranking from number 9 to 24 will go to a 2-leg knockout phase to qualify for the round of 16. But teams ranking from number 25 to 36 will automatically be eliminated